One frequently asked question is, if I'm stopped by the police after drinking, should I take the breath test? Well, the answer to that question is, it depends. First, it's important to know the distinction between the roadside breath test, called the preliminary breath test, or PBT, and the evidential breath test that is administered following an arrest for suspected drunk driving. Michigan law requires that a person suspected of drunk driving submit to a PBT at the request of a police officer. Failure to take the test results in a civil infraction and a fine. Now, I think the best advice is to always decline the roadside breath test unless you're absolutely sure you're under the legal limit. A rule of thumb is that an average alcoholic beverage will increase your BAC by 0.02, so on average, if you've had 2 or 3 drinks, you're probably below the 0.08 legal limit and would pass the preliminary breath test. In that case, it may help your situation if you take the PBT. However, in the case of the evidential breath test, it's almost always best to take the test if you have no prior convictions for any alcohol or drug-related driving offense. Now, that's because if you refuse the test, the police will, in most situations, seek and obtain a warrant from a judge or magistrate for a blood draw. You'll also be given a notice of refusal and face the possibility of losing your license for a year under Michigan's implied consent law and having 6 points added to your driving record. But if you have 1 or more priors and think you're only slightly over the 0.08 legal limit, you may want to refuse the breath test and force the police to take the additional time it typically takes to get a warrant to draw your blood. This may create the basis for what's known as the rising blood alcohol defense. Now, another consideration is that if you're convicted of a second offense within 7 years or a third offense within 10 years, you're looking at losing your driver's license anyway. Plus, from my experience, blood cases are just as defendable as breath cases.